comments. And once again, questions should be for all 4 candidates. Answers should be just a couple minutes in length. Just raise your hand if you have a question, and Michael will find you with the microphone there.
I can see you.
Big surprise. Big surprise. 1 minute, okay. I'm Julie Mueller, and I go to city council meetings, and I tend to be a little opinionated. And Pete I think it was Pete that just pointed on something. At council meetings, we had an issue that we went to for 13 months, and we're not allowed as citizens. Once our issue, we can get up there and have our 3 minutes, and then when our issue comes back up, then you guys discuss it, and unless you ask us a question, we can't engage in our own issue. And when one of you said that, you know, we should be able to talk to you longer than 3 minutes, we were very frustrated over the road. Very frustrated. And there's times we waited 5 hours, 4 hours for our issue. And that's just, there's no reason for that. So the times, are any of you going to change some of those issues so that you can deal with your issue right away and get out of there? Does that make sense? I mean, we go and we talk, and then we have to wait for everybody's thing, and then later on you come back again. We just can't talk about it.
Everybody have the question, basically? Okay, well, once again, Sam Quaker, Ron Weipendog, Pete Warnke, Alan Hanks.
Thank you for the question, Julie. I think there's a couple of things. First is when a speaker speaks, that the item that they're speaking on should be as close in proximity to the time that they speak as possible. So there needs to be more times throughout the agenda where people can speak. Secondly, as it relates to the consent calendar, if someone speaks at the beginning of the consent calendar, they don't know whether that item is actually going to be pulled off for separate consideration unless a council member pulls it off. And I watch for that, and as a courtesy, I will pull it off for that individual. But I think we need to change our procedures so that when a citizen wants to talk about a consent calendar item, they can talk about it, but it would then automatically be pulled from the consent calendar for separate consideration. And then, and finally, if a council member can speak 5 minutes, an audience member should be able to speak 5 minutes.
Thank you, Aaron. I distinctly remember the roads things, and I think I asked you the question. You didn't have another question because it is complicated, and I understand exactly what she's talking about. As your mayor, I would definitely, what I would do is I would change that order. When I knew there was an item on there, and you came, you could talk during that item, because what seems to happen is people will come to the dais. Number one, it takes a lot of energy and courage for someone in the community to come forward. And we're elevated above everybody from originally. When I first got on the council, I'm like, wow, is this a power trip or what? But we're elevated, and we look down upon the citizens when they come to talk. That's tough on them. It's really tough. So what we got to do is we got to match that conversation with that item. So what we have to do when the person wants to talk about it, that way, by the time you talk about it, the citizen comes in and talk about it, and we'll talk about the road. She's talking about the road, and then an hour or two later, the council discusses it. We don't remember what she said. Half the time, we had all these other things on our mind. By the time we get back to her, what she said is totally lost. So what she's looking for is an opportunity to talk about her item and have an actual debate and discussion. So what we need to do is we need to reduce the mechanics that get us to that point. We need to reduce those agendas. We need to put the pressure on and accountability on our division and department heads to make a lot of these mechanical decisions for us. Most of them are technically over our heads anyway. But when it does come to a citizen who needs to understand their situation, you're definitely right. There's no doubt about it. That needs to be changed. And I believe that we can change it. Thank you.
Part of the problem, as I see it, is you've got too many items on the agenda. And unfortunately, a lot of these get pushed off till the last items, for whatever reason. And the problem is the public is they're tired. They want to get to their issues. We can talk about creating a situation where the public has more dialogue, but at the same time, unless we reduce a lot of these items on the agenda and have faster meetings, earlier meetings, maybe more concise, or even maybe even more council meetings where the public can comment more directly, rather than waiting until all hours of the evening before they get their chance. I think that's part of the answer. Not being on the council myself, not having been serving in the office of mayor, I don't know exactly how it can be done. All right, I'm going to be very honest with you. But at the same time, I know that we have to do something. We have to change that process. And if it means that the officials themselves have to change their procedures, then so be it. But it's the public that actually should have the most say in almost everything on the agendas that come up on those council meetings.
Julie, that's a great question. I heard it said a couple of different times, if I was mayor, I'd change that. The mayor can't change it. The procedures are actually adopted by the city council. It's the city council that has to change it. The mayor can't do that. Now, let's talk about your scenario. When you came up, and you're exactly right, you got 3 minutes to talk. But everyone know that any city council member can make a motion to open up the debate with unlimited time. That's within our operating procedures right now. So if the city council wishes to hear unlimited debate, all you have to do is have one of your councilmen make that motion. And I'm trying to think when the last time we actually ever had a council deny that request. We typically don't. And so there is some flexibility in those rules already. Can they be tweaked? Absolutely. There's no question about that. But whenever there is a situation where there needs to be additional discussion, additional time, the council has the flexibility to extend that time if they so wish.